Welcome back to On the Road of Recovery. Today we have Derek McBryde here with us to talk about his recovery story. Hey Derek, how you doing today?
Fantastic.
Good. If it's okay with you, we'll just get started with your childhood. Can you describe it for us? What was it like? Did you grow up with both your parents?
I grew up with both of my parents. It's pretty cliche, everything I needed, most of what I wanted. Overall, good.
Good. And what about your friends? Tell me about school. Did you fit in?
No. I was overweight in elementary and middle school. I got picked on a lot. I always acted a real big clown to kind of cover that up, and which in the long run ended up with me getting made fun of more.
And then through elementary school and middle school, tell me about high school a little bit.
I got to high school and started using drugs and alcohol, and it got a lot better.
So how old were you when that happened?
I think 14, the first time I tried anything.
How did it make you feel? Do you remember?
Way better.
And then from 14, what exactly were you experimenting with?
The first thing I tried was Vicodin. Yeah. I didn't drink first. I didn't smoke weed first. It was just straight to prescription pills.
And then talk about the progression a little bit.
I'd say from the first time I tried it, I was like, this is much better than not taking Vicodin. I didn't immediately start using it every day or even trying to get it every day, but I thought about it all the time. And I'd say by junior year in high school, I was physically dependent on opioids.
Were you seeing any consequences, or was it just a physical dependence?
There were things here and there, I can remember going up to the town's recreation center. I was 16 and I'd been awake on Adderall for 3 days, and they knew something was wrong with me, and the guy that ran it came and he put his hand on my shoulder to be caring and nice, and I freaked out and tried to fight him and left, and then they called my parents and I got drug tested, and it was crazy.
So your physical dependence at, I guess, 16.
Yeah.
And how were you dealing with it? How were you affording it at that time?
Just a lot. It's really terrible, but just a lot of lies to my parents. A lot of, not buying lunch at school, saving that up. A lot of saying I'm going to a certain event that costs money or something like that, and then, using it for drugs.
Did you graduate?
I did.
Did you go to college?
I did, but I failed out the first try.
So was the drug use getting progressively worse, I guess?
Absolutely.
And what was it turning into?
Just like a full-blown standard American drug addict.
Would you say at this point that you were obsessed with the drug?
Yes.
And for someone that has no idea what this mental obsession is, can you describe it for us?
That is so difficult to describe, especially being a few years away from it. It just becomes a part of who you are. I don't know how else to really explain it. Plans, dreams, things you need to do for the day, those are all secondary. The very first thing waking up is, getting well. And then basically your day's activities are based on doing whatever you can to continue that going.
And so you said you dropped out of college.
Yes.
And then what happened?
I went home, started working for a temp agency, real low paying, 12-hour assembly line shifts. And then eventually became unemployable. I just kept getting, I'd get fired every 2 or 3 weeks because I'd either be too sick, going through withdrawal and not show up to work, or be nodding out on the assembly line. I remember making insoles for shoes, and one time I woke up and there was just a like a 4-foot pile of the stuff that was going along the assembly line next to me, and I didn't want to get yelled at, so I just left and never went back.
What about legal consequences?
Tons.
Like what?
Just, like I crashed cars all the time. Possession charges, bar fights.
So you went from Vicodin. By this time, you were using
Heroin.
How old are you now?
I'm 31 years old.
And what did you lose in active addiction?
I mean, by the end of it, everything. I was a homeless guy just wandering downtown Cleveland trying to get enough money to literally be able to walk. It wasn't partying anymore. It wasn't even getting high. Like, I'd become so useless and unable to make any goal. Even my goals of getting high were unreachable because I was so just out of this world at that point,
Did you ever feel alone or misunderstood, misinterpreted, like you were the only one going through this?
Yeah, I think that's a general thing with most people that go through that. Is like, I didn't have any idea of the disease concept. Like I know now, okay, it's like, you have diabetes or you have whatever, you have to do something to treat it. And I want to clarify, I don't mean that in a way that like I was helpless. It's the same idea. If somebody has a disease that they don't treat and they have to go to the hospital for it, that's their fault. There's treatment for whatever disease that is, and it's my responsibility to use that treatment. But no, I just thought like I was a terrible person. I had given up on all of my morals, and I was just like, okay, I guess I'm a sociopath.
Did you ever experience trauma while in addiction or even sober?
I mean, yeah, like a lot of crazy stuff happened between, people overdosing and dying, having a significant other die, waking up in the hospital myself, tons of random stuff.
Have you ever been diagnosed with any other mental health illnesses in the past?
So that's kind of a tough one. The only time I've ever been diagnosed with anything was in rehab, which, I don't know. I think anybody who's 5 days off of heroin probably has depression and anxiety issues. Other than that, no.
So you never sought outside help?
No.
And how long have you been sober now?
Almost 8 years.
Is this the longest time you've stayed sober?
I never had 2 weeks before this.
So did you ever try before and with failed attempts?
Yes.
And
But I didn't try sobriety. I tried to get off heroin, or I tried to get off meth. I tried to get off heroin by using meth. I tried to get off meth by using heroin. Whether it was eating 20 fibromyalgia pills a day to try to get through heroin withdrawal, or eating a bunch of mushrooms to try to have a spiritual experience to stop going to the ghetto. I never tried sobriety. I never tried actual recovery. It was just whatever substance at the time was plaguing my life, I would just change it and do something else.
So let's talk about 8 years ago. What was different about trying sobriety? Did you have a moment of clarity, an aha moment, or?
A couple of them. The main one that sticks out is I was homeless, and I had this weird. I was always looking to like see something profound or see something beautiful that was like going to make sense to me. And I remember I'm at Edgewater Beach underneath that willow tree. It's like 4 a.m. shooting a bunch of speed, and I'm waiting for the sunrise, and I think something beautiful is gonna happen when the sunrise comes up. And like, I had a really strong inner voice that just said, like, you're gonna die alone out here as a disappointment and a burden to everybody you've ever loved. And I like cried, and it was horrible. That didn't get me sober. Like, I got high later that day, but that was there, that happened. And then, I don't know. It's really hard to explain what changed this time, but being totally out of resources and then given the resources at that point is what made the difference.
So how does it feel being 8 years sober today?
It's nuts. It's as time goes on, it's a given. Like, I'm a sober guy, people at shows, people will offer me, drinks or drugs or whatever, and I appreciate it. I'm like, hey, thanks, but I'm gonna need to borrow $15,000 after that if I do that, But when I take the time to pause and really look at like the little things, like I have Invisalign in right now, and I think I've gone like 2 months of my life without brushing my teeth at certain points. little stuff like that. Like, everything is different. I just got to take the time to appreciate it.
And what do you do to maintain your sobriety?
I followed the path that was given to me by the guys in the sober house I went to. I can't name it due to anonymity, but yeah, I was taught a very specific path of living and operating, and whether I liked it or not, I've stuck to it every day since that first day.
So it's been 8 years. Tell me about your relationships with your family, friends, significant other.
Oh, they're awesome. It's like, who knew if you give in relationships, you'll receive, Before I learned about recovery and this new like operating system I work on now, basically everybody in life was kind of a two-dimensional like cutout. What purpose do they serve? What can I get out of this situation? And when you can like take a moment and realize everybody around you is a human being having the exact same experience you are, with like fear and resentment and figuring their life out, and then take the attitude of, what can I do in this situation to like be of service? It's just a whole new world.
So now, what dreams do you have that otherwise wouldn't have been possible?
Any dream. My dreams change every day. I mean, I'm kind of a wild character. Who knows? I have pipe dreams every day of my life, and it's awesome to know that like any of them are possible. I've reached quite a few. Like I've graduated college. I tour all over the country playing music. Anything, but all of it is different because none of those dreams, I didn't accomplish anything when I was out there. And I know there's different stories. There are plenty of people who, lived a very similar lifestyle as me and got things done. But I was incapable. I started at such a young age. I didn't have a bank account till I got sober. I didn't know any operating life skills. So it's like every dream is different now,
And what about your future? It changes every day, I'm sure.
Yeah. One day I want to be a competitive eater. One day I want to open a rehab. One day, I want to start a fishing charter business. Who knows?
Yeah.
Any of it could happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll talk about feelings really quick.
Oh no.
Are you generally happier now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Can you describe a certain feeling that you have received through sobriety that's your all-time favorite?
It's so corny, and I never thought I'd be one of the guys that would talk about something like this. But grace. Grace is powerful. I was talking before about like when I take the time to like appreciate the difference in like the life I've been basically rescued from, all of that. Dude, just the undeserved like love and opportunity and chances I've been given, and what I get to do now. I've had experiences where I'm just driving and I'm just brought to tears, like looking at the gifts I've been given, you know.
Give me an example of one thing that you're proud of since getting sober.
I don't know, why is that such a hard question to answer? One thing. What am I proud of? Okay, what am I proud of? I am proud of the fact 9 out of 10 days I go to bed and review my day and say, I was about as good of a man as I could be.
Yeah. Something to be very proud of. So what does a typical day look for you now?
I wake up in the morning. Most of the time, I stick to the discipline of like putting my phone in another room, sitting in the silence, meditation, little bit of prayer. I drink coffee, and then I'm a 1099 guy. All of my work is random self-employed stuff, whether it's playing music or Uber Eats driving or, you know, sometimes painting houses, whatever. I go to work and then make phone calls throughout the day and go home.
Can you share some examples of things you have been able to do in recovery that otherwise would not have been possible?
I can go anywhere any free man goes. I can do anything. You know, I play music in bars and venues, and I'm around drinking and I'm around drugs. And it doesn't do anything to me because of recovery. You know, I'm not white knuckling it. I'm not out there like, oh my God, what happens if I do coke tonight? Because I'm not gonna do coke tonight.
So what have you learned from your addiction?
Ooh. What have I learned? There's so much to that. I mean, I guess the biggest thing is just relationship with self. I'm not perfect. I can be so self-centered, but knowing when I'm having a problem or when something is going on, that I can look and see where myself is being inflated to make it so problematic. If I can take my self-centeredness out of the equation, if I can look at it from a different perspective, then I'll be okay.
Do you have any words of hope that you would like to share with someone who's trying to get sober?
Yeah. I've been to detox so many times, and when someone would come into detox and they'd say, I've been sober for 5 years or something like that, I thought what they were saying was for 5 years they felt like I felt when I was sober. Hell no. Like I couldn't do that. That was miserable. I want to share that, like, the sobriety that I was taught, that I live, is better. It's not like I thought it was. It's learning to actually be comfortable sober. It's not just being sober. You know, that wasn't the problem. The drugs and alcohol weren't the problem. The problem was how I felt navigating life without drugs and alcohol. And when you address that, life is pretty good.
Okay, so is there anything else that you want to talk about that I haven't asked you or that I missed?
No.
I covered everything. Yes. All right, well, thank you so much for coming out. I know that people look up to you, and with 8 years of sobriety, the fact that you are able to do anything and everything, I think that's the main goal for everyone, and it's just that freedom. So I really appreciate you coming out today. Thank you.
Thank you.
that steers this vessel never cared about the ties that binded us together. A storm can change direction, but the moon decides the tides, the memories I'll treasure. The paths we walk grow further every year. If I wrote the script, you'd be right here. Footprints on the sands of time, you'll always be a friend of mine. And after all these miles, I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you.